Glory. A height of prosperity or achievement. Everyone is chasing it, but few teams capture it. Glory begins on the practice field. Long hours behind the school, hard work in the weight room. For some, glory is about more than just winning. It's a shared sense of community. It's pride. It's tradition. But once in a while, glory is brought at the highest level. A trip to the state finals in Canton, where legends cemented their legacy. Their glory. Those legends can be made right here, in the heart of the 740. Because every year in Southeast Ohio, glory is anyone's for the taking. We've seen tyrants reign supreme and underdogs rise to the occasion. So does your team have the heart, the grit, the determination to capture that glory?
And get ready, because Gridiron Glory starts right now. Oh, how the time flies. Friday Night Lights are back, and we're excited to be back, and we're glad you're tuning in. My name is Jacob Mata, and I'll be your host, Season 23. Joining me this season are two talented senior reporters, Jack Demler and Chloe G. Workman.
Mata, there is some awesome football action on the horizon, but I'm just as excited about the community behind these teams.
Yeah, Jack, and not to mention the conference title races and the playoff storylines. And it all starts tonight when you and I talk about the game of the week between Williamsburg and Ironton.
You're absolutely right, Chloe, but we'll get to that later in the show. For now, Jack, let's start off with a classic Athens County rivalry.
Mata, Nelsonville and Trimble have met on Saturday for the last 7 years, with the Tomcats winning their last 4 meetings. But this year, the two met tonight, after both won their respective Tri-Valley Conference titles. Buckeyes head coach Rusty Richards said the game won't be played on a Saturday for the first time since 2014 to avoid schedule conflicts with the Parade of Hills, allowing members of both communities to join both events. And they showed up tonight. To the field we go. The Buckeyes defense opened the game, forcing a Trimble turnover on downs. And on their first play from scrimmage, Makai Williams with the shovel pass to Leighton Logie, who takes it 67 yards down the near sideline before being tracked down in the red zone. That run sets up Hunter Salter to punch it in from 3 yards out, giving the Buckeyes the early touchdown lead. Buckeyes utilized the ground and pound early, but Williams is going to show off the arm strength, delivering a 17-yard dime to none other than Logie himself. However, on the very next play, Tommy Mitchell coughs it up, giving the Tomcats possession late in the first half. Nelsonville York defense continued to cage the Tomcats, heading into the half up a touchdown. And that defense continued to play lights out as Nelsonville York takes game 1, 16-0. And with that win, Nelsonville York outlasts the Tomcats for the first time in 4 years.
And Jack, they did so in dominant fashion. Were the major factors for the Buckeyes in this team?
Mata, there were a lot of notable standouts for the Buckeyes, but it all starts with the man lining up under center. In his first start as quarterback, Makai Williams showed out the arm strength. Williams went 6 for 9 with 159 passing yards, and he also showed his ability to scramble. He showed early signs of great pocket presence and showed signs that he can be a true leader for this Buckeye team.
Now, of course, it all starts with the man under center, but who else stood out offensively?
Mata, one of their biggest stars on this Nelsonville York team is Leighton Logie, and he showed us why tonight. While he only had 2 catches, he racked up 84 yards, showing off his speed and agility. It's no surprise to see this man showing out early, as Vinton County head coach T.J. Carper said Logie would be one of the biggest threats in the TVC Ohio.
And now, looking on the other side, you mentioned the defense earlier. How were they able to shut down the top team in the TVC Hocking?
Much of this game for Trimble was about the run game, and the Buckeyes defense learned that quickly and was able to force their way through the offensive line and avoid giving up explosive plays. And whenever the Tomcats looked to pass, the Buckeyes were locked down. It was a no-fly zone courtesy of the Buckeyes secondary. In a conversation I had with head coach Rusty Richards earlier this week, he said football is meant to be played on Friday nights, and the Buckeyes showed out under these bright lights.
Keeping things in the TVC, we have another cross-conference matchup between Eastern and River Valley. TVC Hocking reporter Cameron Nupp joins us. And Cam, I hear Eastern has a new play caller.
Thanks, Mata. Tonight was head coach Jason Jackson's first game at the helm of the Eastern Eagles football program. I talked to Coach Jackson about the new culture that he's established this offseason.
Champion is this. We told them when we started saying that every breakout we do, every drill we do when we break out, we're always trying to say champions. Doesn't mean champions on the football field. What it means to us is be a champion every step of your life. Take care of the little things, the big things will take care of themselves. So that's what we're about. You know, we want to just be focused on small things, and, you know, winning games will happen if we take care of the little things.
Eastern began the season with a visit to River Valley, and although the Razors have struggled, it's still 2 divisions up for the Eagles, something Coach Jackson says is important to get them ready for league play. After punting the ball away on their first offensive series, Eastern's Ken Smith sprints down on punt team and lowers the boom to get the Eagles going. Later that drive, Eastern's Gavin Murphy comes up with a huge play on defense by intercepting the tip pass and taking it all the way to the house for the pick six. The extra point would be no good, but it's 6-0 Eagles. Later in the first quarter, Eastern was forced to punt, but punter and quarterback Brady Yonker makes something out of nothing on the broken play by scooping up the drop snap and taking off for the first down. Later in the drive, the Eagles would make the most of their second chance when running back Gavin Smith punched it in from a yard out. One play later, the Eagles crossed the goal line again for the 2-point conversion. The Eagles would take a 14-0 lead in the halftime and never look back to earn themselves a 21-6 victory. That victory is a product of Coach Jackson's mentality, which he's used to inspire his players to focus on the individual battles until the final whistle.
Eastern's new motto is win the play. Did it seem like the team has bought into that motto tonight?
Mata, when the Eagles defense needed it most, they did just that. They won the play. They stopped the Raiders on 3 fourth downs in the first half alone to turn the River Valley offense over on downs. And when the offense fumbled to turn it over deep in their own territory late in the first half, the defense forced and recovered a fumble of their own to deny the Raiders in the red zone.
Now, Cam, the Eagles were run heavy in their first scrimmage. Were they run heavy tonight as well?
Well, Mata, if there's one thing that Coach Jackson likes, it's grit. And the Eastern offense personifies that by playing smash mouth football. They use a combination of motion and good old-fashioned solid O-line play to open up holes for feature back Gavin Smith, who does not go down easy. The Eagles rushed for 177 yards on 37 attempts en route to their victory.
Picking up that first win was huge for the Eagles and really shows the mentality they have is paying off, especially on the ground game. Thanks for the great work, Cam. The Eagles were recently forced to find a new game Week 6 after their former TVC Hocking rivals, the Federal Hocking Lancers, canceled their 2022 season. The Lancers have struggled to field a full roster in recent years, but this season the team had been completely dissolved. The Federal Hocking Lancers had their complications producing a football team in recent years. Since 2018, there have been multiple cancellations, including the second half of the 2019 season. After leaving the TVC Hocking in 2020, the future was bleak, until coach Brad Woodson stepped in. Under his guidance, the 2021 season went by with no issues. But the program was again in danger mid-July. With just a few days before camp, Brad Woodson resigned as the coach of the Lancers. The Fed Hawk AD requested Lance Binniger take the role.
I'm friends with Stephanie Evans. She was my AD when I was the head coach at Belpre, and she told me that their head coach had resigned 5 days before camp started and that they are in need of a coach if I'd be interested. And I said, sure, why not?
Binniger was approved as the next head coach in a July school board meeting, facing pleas from parents to save the program. But after only a week's practices, the numbers showing up weren't up to par with expectations.
I was in the ballpark of about 16-ish, 15, 16 is what I was under the assumption as. You know, and then so I had 5 on my first day, and then so 5, 4, 3, 3, 4. I had 1 freshman, 1 junior, and 3 seniors.
The season was then quietly canceled. Athletic Director Stephanie Evans said in a statement, quote, "We did not have enough players to form a team for middle school or high school football this year. We plan to start working now to rebuild the numbers with the hopes of fielding a team next year, end quote. While Evans said they're still brainstorming ideas moving forward, the disappointment was clear from Binninger, who was excited to coach the team.
7 kids transferred out. 6 went to Eastern and 1 went to Nelsonville, York. So that's very hurtful.
Binninger does not plan to retain the head coaching role for next year. And as the situation has developed, many parents have begun transferring students to neighboring schools. One parent talked about her son wrote, quote, "We've transferred him to Nelsonville due to my husband teaching at Tri-County, and I haven't seen my son this excited for football before." But teams in Southeast Ohio have overcome adversity like this before, a perfect example being the Crooksville Ceramics. MVO reporter Bryce Tinson joins us to talk about a special night for the Crooksville community.
Yeah, Model, it was a huge night for Crooksville. New stadium, new uniforms, and new era of ceramics football.
MVO reporter Cameron Young has more on that story.
2021 was a difficult year for the Crooksville Ceramics. Due to electrical issues with their stadium, the team was forced to play the entirety of the 2021 season on the road. They were also unable to get into the win column, finishing only 0-9.
I was unfortunately enough there to look at those faces last year when we didn't have that. We were told we weren't going to play on the road, and I don't think a lot of people realize how the toll that takes.
Not only are the Ceramics getting a brand new stadium, but other amenities are being added too, including new uniforms. It's generating a lot of buzz with both the players and the team's first-year head coach.
You know, the kids can have something they take pride in. It has something of their own. It's out there. They can look at it all day, every day. They drive past it. You know, people that lived in this area the whole entire lives drive on 93. They're going to see those lights going up. As a coach side, just the basics of a brand new weight room too. We're getting a brand new weight room, a brand new locker room. We're practicing on the baseball field. Be able to practice with a field with lines on it. Be able to, you know, just those little things like that are going to be awesome too.
Coach Latozo credits both the stadium and the uniforms as a way to help the players buy into the new culture of the program.
We want to make this an environment that they enjoy coming to every day. You know, that's that kind of that buy-in we were talking about. If you enjoy coming here every day, then you're going to enjoy the process of what we're trying to do, and it's going to make it a better experience for everybody.
For Gridiron Glory, I'm Cameron Young.
For the first time in 676 days, the Crooksville Ceramics were finally able to show some home pride. And it was pretty obvious the Crooksville faithful had been longing to as well. The stadium was packed to the brim with a raucous crowd in the student section cheering for a Ceramics win. You know, with the extended home absence, the Ceramics had to break out the pregame festivities. Check out this paraglider who is carrying the game ball. First drive for the Wildcats, 4th and goal at the 2, and Daniel Chapman stuffs Jake Battles at the 1 to keep this a tie ball game. A Wade Huck INT gives Waterford the ball back, and they don't let it go to waste. Bandeles finds Lane Klein on the out route, and he scampers 29 yards for the first score at the new stadium. They wouldn't stop there as Dylan Taylor is in the zone. He takes the option pitch and finds a hole. He's rumbling, bumbling, and stumbling his way down to the 1. He punched it in the very next play. The Wildcats went on to take this one 18-6.
Sounds like this one just got away from the Ceramics in their first game at home in over a year. Which players stood out in the loss?
Well, Mata, 2 names come to mind. Corbin Browning and Daniel Chapman were those 2 names. You saw Chapman's 4th down stop earlier, and that was just a fraction of what he did. He was flying all over the field, making every tackle. Browning made his mark on the edge with multiple great open field tackles, and this monstrous hit coming right here. I'm sure Coach Latozo is very happy with their performance.
Now tell me, Bryce, did having home field advantage make any difference for the Ceramics?
It was apparent early that the crowd was helping the defense. The play that comes to mind is again the early 4th down goal line stop. They also showed up early when the defense delivered bone-crushing hits. It was a welcome sight for the players as they finally had home field advantage.
How did they move toward achieving their goals that they set at the beginning of the year?
Coach Latozo told me earlier today that the goal for the season was for the players to play as hard as they can for as long as they can. There were definitely glimpses of that from both the offense and defense, but penalties held them back big time. They totaled double-digit penalties, and it seemed like they just kept moving backwards. It's something they're going to have to work on to take that next step.
They'll have to wait 2 weeks to get another shot at getting that first home win in the new stadium. A new matchup this year sets for Fort Frye Cadets, the John Glenn Muskies. Fort Frye has been consistent in their dominance of Southeast Ohio football. Over the past 7 seasons, they have only 2 losses in regular season games.
And on the Muskies side, they're 38-28 since 2015 and have made the playoffs for 5 straight seasons. In Division 4 and Division 5 this season, they're going to have to try to do it in Division 3.
When asked why Fort Frye scheduled this game, head coach Eric Huck said they have had a tough time finding teams to play in the 7-4-0 and are constantly looking for better competition. Fort Frye did find a tougher opponent taking on the John Glenn Little Muskies, as the first quarter was a defensive battle.
After a cadet field goal, Noah Winland threw a dot to Nathan Walker to set the Muskies up at the 20-yard line, leading to a Lincoln Glitcher rushing touchdown.
Clayton Miller would then find Braxton Brown for a long touchdown pass, setting the score at 11-6.
The Cadets will continue to play great defense en route to a 33-6 victory over those Little Muskies, picking right up where they left off last season.
Check out the full game recap on all social medias and at WOUB.org. Fans had the right idea heading into that game, with Fort Frye taking 52% of the vote against John Glenn. And remember, every Thursday you can vote at home for who you think will be each of our 4 games that we cover that week. Bloom Carroll had a big test tonight taking on Harvest Prep as they ran away with the fan vote, and the Bulldogs are prepared. MSL reporter Maria Manessi joins us to discuss the new era for Bloom Carroll football.
Mata, the young Bulldog team is under new leadership this season, looking to build off success from previous seasons. The Bulldog family has seen tremendous success over the last 4 years, earning 4 straight league titles and a 42-8 record. Just last season, the team suffered a heartbreaking loss in the state semifinals, the one black spot on an otherwise undefeated season. The Bulldogs graduated 7 All-State players from the title run, the most in the 7-4-0.
A lot of those guys were 3-4 year lettermen. So what's happened for us is the guys that are coming up have seen how those guys have prepared and played the last 4 years.
They also saw the departure of head coach Wade Bartholomew, who spent 8 seasons with Bloom Carroll. Former defensive coordinator Jeremy McKinney is now at the helm for the Bulldogs. McKinney says the biggest difference this season is a deeper bench. The Bulldogs will have around 12 to 15 more players compared to last season. For senior Chase Plants, he looks forward to working with his younger teammates.
Every year we've always had them upperclassmen, and we get to finally build chemistry with all the younger kids.
Senior Andrew Marshall says the team is prepared for the challenge.
I feel that we definitely have some pressure, since we lost a lot of guys last year. And we always have people doubting us after every year, so we just need to prove that we can play how we play.
Our guys are great, our community's great, so it's really just, I felt like we haven't really missed a beat, like we're just continuing the way we have been.
Tonight, Bloom Carroll was put to the test taking on the Harvest Prep Warriors.
Yamato, with both teams making it to the state semifinals last year, this was Bloom Carroll's biggest test of the season. It's a new turf and new season at Carl Fell Stadium as Bloom Carroll looked to start off another season strong. In the first quarter, both teams battled back and forth. The Bulldogs kept up with the fast-paced Warriors offense and prevented them from finding the end zone. But this 40-yard touchdown pass to open the second quarter was a game changer for the Warriors, and interceptions like this one were costly mistakes for the Bulldogs. Following the interception was yet another drive for the Warriors that ended with a trip to the end goal line. Once the Warriors found their groove, it was hard for the Bulldogs to stop them. New head coach Jeremy McKinney told me leading up to the game that Harvest Prep has a fast, physical football team, and the Bulldogs hung around with the Warriors in the first quarter, but both of those came to reality right in front of them as they struggled and ultimately fell 20-7. With this loss, it makes it the first time Bloom Carroll hasn't won its home opener since 2014.
And Maria, losing certainly isn't in the norm for the Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs have a lot of players.
The Bulldogs have a lot of players looking to step up on their roster who is a player that stood out they can look for as the season progresses.
Senior Andrew Marshall only had 4 carries in 28 yards, but he was the only one who found the end zone tonight. The Bulldogs will look for him later in the season to guide them to success and to be a leader.
Last year, former head coach Wade Bartholomew talked highly of senior quarterback KJ Benedict, who is the new man under center.
The new man is Ethan Thanthanabong, and he completed 13 of 23 passes for 122 yards. The sophomore will look to step up and has some improving to do throughout the season.
And Jeremy McKinney is new under the head coaching position. How was his coaching style implemented in Carroll's program?
For the former defensive coordinator, 2 things he wanted to see his defense is get the ball and tackle. The Bulldogs couldn't find ways to attack the ball and failed to force turnovers that could have prevented scoring. Forcing incompletions and creating turnovers is something that the defense must improve on if they want to go far. Moving forward, the Bulldogs must be able to compete with teams like these later in the season.
It will be interesting to see how they compete throughout the rest of the season. Thanks for the great work, Maria. Now don't forget, our game of the week still lies ahead, but we cover more games on our social medias every week. To give you guys a sneak peek, senior reporters Jack and Chloe hop in on the action.
Mata, we start with the 117th meeting for the Story rivalry referred to as Knock-Nurk between the Newark Wildcats and the Zanesville Blue Devils. The Blue Devils have won 15 of the last 17 meetings, and their only loss coming back in 2016. Not only have the Blue Devils dominated the rivalry over the last decade, they lead the series 62-51. Last season, the Blue Devils won 41-0, and they are looking to have a repeat performance tonight. Zanesville faithful pulled up to their stadium earlier in the week for a start of the season pep rally, and everyone was excited for this rival matchup.
This rivalry game is one of the longest lasting in the state of Ohio. It's been, almost, and besides the COVID year, it was like 110 straight. So, a lot of rivalries, games played between these two schools. It's a fun one to kick off the beginning of the year with.
Zanesville came into this game on a mission of domination, and they perfected it. Drew Doyle would take the snap, fake the handoff, drop back to pass, and connect with Dean Johnson down the field, setting the Blue Devils up in scoring position. That deep pass would help set up Doyle to run the QB keep to the far side, where he forces his way into the end zone, giving the Devils the early lead. Zanesville dominated on both sides of the ball. Defensively, the Devils forced their way past the offensive line to get to the backfield, helping lead them to a 40-14 victory.
Before this rivalry game, the two different communities put the competition aside and decided to come together for a special moment of silence. Earlier this year, in July, a student from Licking Valley tragically passed away in a car accident. Described as a ray of sunshine by her superintendent, Ada Krakonko left a lasting impact on her community. This ceremony means a lot for the Krakonko family, who shares a meaningful hug during the moment of silence. This isn't the first ceremony of remembrance, and it certainly won't be the last, according to Scott Beery, who wants to keep her memory alive.
In July when this happened, we came together as a group. Our kids were on summer break, but we came together as a school, and then her parents are amazing people, and they've leaned on us, and we've leaned on them, and her friends, and this is a great thing about high school football, and this is a great thing about community.
And switching gears to the game, this was a back and forth affair that ultimately came down to the defense. Sheridan was trailing at halftime 28-21 when they made the halftime adjustments, and they stilled the Panthers at 28. The Generals tacked on two more to take the win in the end. Sheridan was testing the waters with multiple quarterbacks. After a rushing touchdown in the first quarter, Reed Packer tacked on another touchdown to put Sheridan ahead. And for more highlights on these games, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now you can even find us on TikTok at Gridiron Glory. And if you missed a game and you want highlights, don't worry, we got you covered. Just find us on WOUB.org for all written content and game recaps. And finally, the moment we've all been waiting for, Game of the Week. Ironton versus Wheelersburg. These names may sound familiar, and that's because they've played each other every opening week for over 20 years, and currently Ironton holds on to a 14-11 record. Last season, after Ironton started the year with a blowout 40-6, Wheelersburg kept that in the back of their minds, and when they faced them again this time in the playoffs, they retaliated. After gaining a 14-point lead in the first quarter, the Fighting Tigers team came to an abrupt end, and when Wheelersburg scored 17 unanswered points. The summer after that game, both of these teams have been waiting for the moment they could meet again.
There's no better way to kick off the season, in my opinion. We don't like them, they don't like us. Make no bones about it.
And that's what you want. That's what we live for. That's what life's all about, is those moments that make your hair stand up a little bit.
What happened last time, we ain't forgot, and we coming to get revenge.
They're going to be out for blood this year. They are going to bring everything they've got, and we've got to be ready to step it up here and, bring our A game.
Man, I love the adversity, that's what makes a player, makes a basic player, and it tells the coach how strong you are.
It's going to be a good atmosphere, and we're just going to keep building off that energy, and our fans are going to do great. We're going to do great, so hopefully we just put on a show for them.
Come Friday night, we're going to turn it into 11 individual battles, and we're going to go to war.
Every week, we will be out in the community at our Game of the Week to see what our fans are up to. And we have been hyping this game up for a long time, so let's get right into all the action.
The scene was set for the perfect rematch, and reporter Aiden Crowley was at the game until the clock hit 0.
Yeah, guys, the atmosphere was electric, and we are sorry for the technical difficulties. Parking was impossible for blocks, with the tailgates that you saw, and it was an insane turnout for the kickoff of the season.
So we've been out here since about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and it's planning to be out here till about 6 o'clock, just having a family atmosphere there. That's what we try to preach, and that's what this community is about.
We've just been raised as kids just in a anti-Ironton way.
Let's watch football, have fun, see a good football game, and hope that Willisburg kicks their
I've been the cheerleading coach here. This is my 32nd year. So I know it's been going on a really long time. And it's the best game in the area to start Friday Night Lights.
We do it's tradition.
Tradition?
These are the biggest ones we've ever had.
Yeah.
Let's go Pirates!
It's a raffle that we're doing. This is all things that were, it was her idea, and I helped with getting it together. And
it's everything from 1970s. We graduated in 77, and it's the sports that we had.
Every bird game I've been to, we always have them just to get loud, support the boys.
This is what high school football is about. It doesn't get much better than this. It doesn't get much better than this.
The scene was set for the perfect rematch. Reporter Aiden Crowley was at the game until the clock hit 0.
Yeah, guys, the atmosphere was electric and parking was impossible thanks to the tailgates. But once you were finally able to get into Ed Miller Stadium, the play on the field was well worth the price of admission. Both teams are known for their physicality, and it showed early. After a string of defensive stops, Wheelersburg was the first to throw the first punch. They marched behind the big boys up front to get themselves in the red zone and into field goal range to take an early 3-0 lead. It looked like the Fighting Tigers were going to respond until a huge interception from Eric Lattimore over Ty Perkins in the end zone, and the Pirates let him know about it. But Perkins showed he had that dog in him on the very next possession. Ironton drove down the field, and Tatum Carpenter finds who else? Perkins for a touchdown grab. The extra point was no good, and the Fighting Tigers went into the locker room up 6-3. That score held for all of the third, or majority of the third and all of the fourth, until Ironton put the nail in the coffin with an Amari Fielder 10-yard TD run as the Fighting Tigers improved to 14-11 in the last 25 years with the win. Now this game had everything in such a historic rivalry.
This is not quite the outcome Wheelersburg expected, was it, Aiden? We anticipate this matchup every year, but what was it in particular that stood out to you this year?
Well, Chloe, I think we both saw how these defenses balled out. Their play in the trenches was what carried both teams. It was a hard-fought physical game that really lived up to the hype.
I have to agree, Aiden, but the difference in the game was when Ironton was able to get into space. They utilized their athletes in the open field to get more explosive plays than Wheelersburg.
Thanks, Aiden. Well, thank you for joining us tonight, and remember, and you can catch all the action on social media. And remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.